Guru. Thank you everybody for being here. Welcome to everybody who has joined tonight's webinar called Reparations for Stolen Black Lives, How White People Can Fund the Uhuru Wakalia African Women's Health Center. And I am, funding this health center is part of a campaign to raise $292,000 to construct the African Women's Health Center. My name is Len, and I am the coordinator of the Reparations Legacy Project, which is a campaign of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement that organizes white people that have access to financial, generational, and social wealth to pay reparations to fund Black liberation. And so I just want to thank you everybody tonight for joining us both virtually and also here in person at our Uhuru Solidarity Center in St. Louis. And we are very honored tonight to have with us in the building Chairman Omali Yeshitela, who is the founder and leader of the African People's Socialist Party. And I also want to salute, we have in the building Deputy Chair Ona Zane Yeshitela, who's the Deputy Chair of the African People's Socialist Party and the President of the African People's Education and Defense Fund. All right. So we're really excited to have everybody here. And if you're joining us online, please introduce yourself in the chat with your name and your location. So I just want to begin by saying that Uhuru is a Swahili word that means freedom. And we say this slogan in unity with the Uhuru movement led by the African People's Socialist Party, who are fighting for liberation and self-determination of Black people in the US and around the world. As one African people. And so in tonight's webinar, we will be hearing from three powerful speakers who will be discussing the Uhuru Wakalia Freedom to Nurture African Women's Health Center and why we must fund this project so that African women can take back power over their health and their reproductive rights. So we're really excited to have everybody here with us tonight. And I especially want to appreciate and salute our leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, who has been leading the African Revolution and the worldwide Uhuru movement for over 50 years. Uhuru, Chairman. Uhuru. And I also really want to salute African People's Socialist Party Deputy Chair Ona Zane Yeshitela, who will be speaking with us this evening in a little bit, as well as African National Women's Organization President Yejide Orunmila, and the African People's Solidarity Committee Chairwoman Penny Hess, who will also be speaking. And I also want to recognize Jesse Neville, who's here in the room with us tonight. He is the chair of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement and the national chair of the Reparations Legacy Project, who will be joining us a little bit later with Comrade Leah Fifield, who is the grants coordinator for the Reparations Legacy Project. And I now want to introduce to you my co-MC for the evening, Carrie Porter, who is the planned giving coordinator of the Reparations Legacy Project. Uhuru, Carrie.
Uhuru, Len. Thank you. It's an honor to be here tonight as part of the Reparations Legacy Project and as a member of Uhuru Solidarity Movement. We want to let people know that you can communicate with us. There's a chat feature as well as a Q&A feature, and there will be time for questions in the program tonight. Before we introduce our first speaker, we want to show you these powerful videos about the Black Power Blueprint, including an overview of the project from day one to now, a video about the Uhuru Wakalia African Women's Health Center, and some recent news coverage from about the Black Power Blueprint, which is in St. Louis's North Side.
So Black Power Blueprint means that I will not want everybody to enjoy and get a chance to see another side of North St. Louis.
The Black Power Blueprint in North St. Louis was born following the police murder of Mike Brown in 2014. The Black Power Blueprint is testimony to the fact that Mike Brown and the hundreds of other Black people killed by the colonial police did not die in vain. The African People's Education and Defense Fund and Black Star Industries believe we must go beyond protest. We must build institutions of economic and political power in the hands of the Black working class community. In 2017, we initiated the Black Power Blueprint in North St. Louis under the bold and innovative leadership of Ona Zane Yeshitela, President of the African People's Education and Defense Fund, and we have already transformed our community. We purchased and renovated the Uhuru House at 4101 West Florissant Avenue, which was ready for use by early 2018. We bought 2 adjacent buildings down the street at College and West Florissant. In 2019, we demolished the corner building, which is slated to become a community basketball court. Even during the pandemic, we didn't miss a beat, and throughout the year 2020, we completed the stage in the outdoor space, installed a wrought iron fence, and then planted the garden.
This is powerful because you're here.
We completely renovated the 4-plex apartment building on College Avenue that will provide housing for our African Independence Workforce Training Program for our brothers and sisters coming out of the prison system. We also demolished 2 other nearby buildings on West Florissant to make way for retail shops and contracted with the LRA for property designated for an African women's facility. In 2021, we installed an electronic sign on the side of the Uhuru House. We had a huge victory in June 2021 when we launched our One Africa, One Nation Farmers Market with a grant from the USDA. The initiative of the Black Power Blueprint has mobilized the North St. Louis African community and won supporters, volunteers, and donors from every part of the city and around the world. Some make donations as a stand of reparations to the African community.
We believe in the democratic anti-colonial right to be able to have community control of every aspect of our lives.
Many community members have expressed what the Black Power Blueprint means to them.
You see the money going back into the community.
We want to build our neighborhoods to get our families back.
Volunteer and donate at blackpowerblueprint.org.
Each year, the number of babies that die during childbirth in St. Louis could populate 15 kindergarten classrooms. Imagine all that potential lost. Each neighbor, family member, or friend who loses a baby faces enormous emotional suffering. The Black community in St. Louis suffers from an infant mortality rate 3.3 times that of white people. A 2019 study found that Black women in St. Louis County were nearly twice as likely to die while pregnant or after giving birth compared to white women. In a city that is home to some of the best medical care in the country, African women often lack access to prenatal and postnatal care. We recognize these grave disparities to be a symptom of an unjust system in which our power and self-determination has been taken from us. But with the Black Power Blueprint, we are fighting to take back our power over our own communities and resources, including the futures of our children. We are embarking on Phase 5 of the Black Power Blueprint, a Black-led wellness education center to empower Black women and girls in caring for our physical, mental, and emotional wellness. The vision is to provide health and self-care programs that reinforce our traditional African culture and invest in the future of our community, with doula and childbirth educator certification programs, along with opportunities for employment and entrepreneurship. The African Women's Health Program is specifically designed to alleviate the trauma women and children face in our communities due to lack of healthcare and ability to control our healthcare choices. Traditionally, the Black community values collective prosperity, a value we trace back to Africa. The African Women's Health Program addresses the mental and physical health of Black girls and women by providing prenatal, birthing, and postnatal care, trauma-informed yoga, an annual African Girls' Day event, a medicinal herb treatment program, and more. Following the murder of Mike Brown in 2014, the Uhuru movement created the Black Power Blueprint in North St. Louis to go beyond protest and provide solutions to the deep poverty, racial trauma, poor health, unemployment, and lack of housing and healthy food our community experiences. The Black Power Blueprint is a comprehensive neighborhood revitalization project that is transforming North St. Louis through renovation, self-sustaining economic development, and political power by and for the Black community. We have long recognized that our community has the capacity to solve our own problems through self-reliance projects driven by the needs of the community rather than having solutions imposed on us. We create programs that empower the people from the ground up to create lasting change. The African Women's Health Center will be a much needed respite for our community. It will empower us in taking charge of our health and well-being. Support this innovative and empowering program. Donate today.
Made on a second. Well, the finishing touches are being made on a second mural that will be a part of a new basketball court in North St. Louis.
Yeah, one painter's work is going to be free for all to see in an encore of her first display. Jamie, the artist, is working daily on her work of art at the future Black Power Blueprint Community Basketball Court. It's located on College Avenue in West Florissant. After the first mural was so well received in the community, the African People's Education and Defense Fund sponsored a second mural. This isn't Jamie's first work in the community. She created a 2-story high painting on the side of a house overlooking the One Africa, One Nation farmers market nearby.
This is powerful. It's such beautiful work. And this is a revolutionary project. It's putting power back into the hands of the African working class. I'd like to now introduce our first speaker, the African National Women's Organization President, Yejide Oranmila.
Yejide Oranmila is the president of the African National Women's Organization, which is an international organization founded by the African People's Socialist Party in March of 2015 to address the specific oppression that African women face as a result of colonial domination. And under her leadership, ANWO has built branches and established membership in the United States, Africa, and Europe. And through Yejide's travels to Africa, South America, the Caribbean, Europe, and within the borders of the United States, she has seen the effects of colonialism on African people and the specific oppression that African women face. Through African internationalism, she believes that what must be done to solve all these issues is for African people to overturn their relationship to the current social system, and that any struggle made towards liberation must include the full participation of African women in order to be successful. ANWO has been organizing against the state-sponsored kidnapping of African children and criminalization of African parents through its campaign Arrest CPS. Black women and their relationship to the prison system as prisoners and as supporters of incarcerated persons, anti-African dress code policies in schools, and horizontal violence. It is my honor to welcome President Yejide Oranmila.
Comrades, thank you so much for the invite and just to have a chance, the opportunity to talk to people about why the Uhuru Wakalia Center is so important. And just a little bit about the work of the African National Women's Organization and how it all ties together. So I just really want to say Uhuru and salute the leadership of the African People's Solidarity Committee, Penny Hess and Jessie Neville, who is the leadership of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. I also want to appreciate and salute the chairman of the African People's Socialist Party, whose undying leadership has really moved this work to so many different places around the world. And African internationalism has had a deep and profound impact on me and continues to have a deep and profound impact on the lives of African people, wherever they feel it or get it in. So just want to appreciate the chairman. So I was asked to talk a little bit about the Arrest CPS work that we are involved in, which is one of our primary campaigns. As Comrade just mentioned, that African National Women's Organization was created by the African People's Socialist Party in 2015 to address the special conditions, contradictions that exist as a result of African people being colonized, and look at the special oppression that African women face because of that condition. And we've been organizing a number of campaigns, but none in my opinion, has been more significant than really the Arrest CPS campaign, which really cuts to the heart of, colonial capitalism and the exploitation of African people. It is the fundamental thing that we're continuing to talk about to this day, that is the enslavement of African people, the sale of human beings, the auctioning off of human beings, things that we thought did not happen, not us obviously, but there are people who think that, modern day slavery in the way that African people have always been enslaved and captured does no longer exist, but it does exist because colonialism still exists. We have not destroyed it. And this campaign has helped us understand a lot deeper of the tentacles upon which the tentacles of colonialism in the lives of poor working class African women and families. So in 2016 actually, we met two women out of Philadelphia who this is a new topic. They met us and they were struggling to get their children back from the DHS, which is what it's called in Philadelphia. And we had never confronted any sort of thing like this. And actually this subject was relatively new to us in terms of, all of the details that go into fighting a case like this. And what we really came out of it understanding is that in a more deeper, more profound way, is that when African women are trapped in this system, African women and children are trapped in this system, it is like a fight, a fight for your life. It is something that isolates African women because colonialism requires the silence around this issue. African people cannot talk about their case because it's supposedly a child issue. African women are helpless or are made to be hopeless. And our involvement in these cases have been really transformative for the people that we've been organizing, and just also for ourselves, because what we're doing is we're helping people to understand that these things are not happening in isolation. This is not just some horrible, bad part of the system that just went awry and is targeting families or for children just because, but that this is an institution, the CPS system, the CPS institution was created within colonialism. It is a colonial institution. It was erected as a strategy of the colonizer to really infiltrate the lives of poor and working class people, but primarily deeply impacting the lives of African people. And I absolutely believe that this is a part of like the increase of this, the more that it has been put out into the world, and the more that it's been increasing in the lives of African people, is just like the numbers that are going up with African people in prisons, the numbers have been going up with African children in custody of the state. And this is no mistake. I believe that this is a part of the counterinsurgency, that really when you are talking about somebody's children and you taking their children out of their custody, they are put into a state of disarmament. They are put into a state of pure and absolute despair. And the primary goal for that person is not thinking about African liberation or anything else like that. It's about getting your child back. So this is a method that the colonizer is using to undermine and destabilize the Black community. And it is a strategy of the colonizer to commit genocide against the African community, because you're removing the core of a family, the child out of the family, and creating a whole web of ways that the state is now in the lives of African people. So it's not just the child is in the custody of the state. Now they've involved the police, you have the court systems, you have all of these other entities, the schools, the hospitals, everybody's all in it. So, and if you are also involving healthcare professionals who are supposed to be tied to the state, you are creating, you're criminalizing African mothers. You are also making sure that African mothers are labeled as insane or mentally unstable. There's a whole web of things that are involved in the arrest in the CPS system. And so the colonizer made it so that you won't want to fight back. But the Arrest CPS campaign is infiltrating that process. We are going into this process with sisters and brothers who want to fight back, and we are giving them the tools to do it. We are arming them with political education. We are organizing on their behalf. We are organizing legal support. We are going into the place that the colonizer does not want us to go into, and we are helping parents who want to fight back, who are fighting back, gain their voice and feeling their own power and their own significance and understanding more and more about what colonialism is. And we had a really significant protest here in Washington, D.C. We had on May 8th, on Mother's Day, which is intentional. We wanted to make sure that people understood that the kidnap of African children is the same ongoing auctioning of African bodies that is what founded this country. And we did it in the seat of imperialism, US imperialism. And it was really important for these parents to come out there because these mothers who had otherwise been in the dark, who were struggling and fighting by themselves, were able to come together. Mothers and fathers, not just mothers, but mothers and fathers are able to come together and voice and challenge and feel power. And we had such amazing speakers from the party, but also they themselves spoke out, for the very first times in many cases about what's happening to them. So this is their own testimony to confirm what everybody there knew, but what other people may not have known is that the ongoing kidnapping of African people is still happening. And it's our responsibility in the African community to challenge this, to say, no, this is not going to happen underneath my watch, because it's at crisis levels, right? This is happening all throughout the country. African children are overrepresented in the foster care system. I don't care if there's one African child in the middle of white America, that African child is a higher risk is more at higher risk than all the white children around them for going into the foster care system, because this is the colonizers' country, right? Like, this is the country that they have taken and used for their best, for their interests and for their own benefit, while the rest of us colonized African and indigenous people have been victims of their assaults. And so this is the foundation of capitalism. This is the foundation of colonialism, and it is our responsibility in the African National Women's Organization and also the African People's Socialist Party to push back against all of the attacks that the colonizer is waging. But we're not doing this just so that we can, win against CPS. Ultimately, our goal in the African National Women's Organization is to win, is to make the revolution, because it doesn't matter how many children we are able to rescue from this, this colonial institution, if the colony is still in existence. If the colony still exists, there's going to be something else that's challenging our ability to be free, challenging our ability to be parents, challenging our ability to reproduce and produce in our own interests. And until we are able to destroy the colonizer, then we're always going to be dealing with some issue or another. So while this issue is something that we believe very wholeheartedly has to be is a critical point at which African women and African families can fight, we also believe that this is not the end all be all, that our responsibility is to destroy the colonizer, is to destroy the whole entire institution of colonialism so that African children and African families and African communities can thrive, and that we can support families who may be vulnerable and were made vulnerable by colonialism to this system. Because even if there are contradictions that may exist, we understand that those contradictions are not our contradictions. Those contradictions were created by the colonizer. So we have people who are challenged by the idea that some parents may have engaged in drug use or may be violent or some things like that. But all of those are a result of the colonizer. The colonizer is the most violent drug pusher on the face of the entire planet. This is the same activities that founded this whole entire social system. And here we are as African people trapped within it and forced into these various conditions that makes us vulnerable to the same colonizer to come in and now steal another resource of ours, which is our children. And our responsibility is always, we have to fight back, and give these African people the African internationalist summation of what is happening to us, so that they won't feel like these things are their fault, but that they are in a place where they can recognize that they are fighting for their children, which is a righteous struggle and fight, but also that the ultimate goal really is also to destroy the colonizer in and of itself. To help them understand these are colonial institutions that no matter how many lawyers and how many laws and how many policies that we may come up with, that ultimately, if we still appeasing to the colonial law, the colonizer itself, and all of these things are going to be for naught. So our responsibility is to destroy the colonizer. And I wanted to also make a point of saying that when we did that march on the White House, the Black Mothers March on the White House in Washington, D.C., I think a few days earlier than that, the leak for the Roe versus Wade decision that just came out, that was officially put out last Friday, hit the streets. And so there was a lot of women and people who were in the streets protesting this potential overturning of the Roe versus Wade abortion issue. Yet, and here we are, as African people, are fighting for our children that the colonizer has taken from us. And this is for us a question of reproduction and producing for ourselves, is the ability to keep and raise and parent the children that we currently have, in the same breath that the colonizer is threatening to take away the right to have an abortion, which it was granted back in the 60s with the Roe versus Wade decision. And so our response, for us is, the violence and autonomy against women's bodies has been something that African women and Indigenous women and colonized women have been dealing with for forever. No U.S. law about abortion has ever prevented these fights from happening to African women. And, which is indicative of the arrest CPS fight that we're constantly engaged in throughout the country. But that regardless of what the US Supreme Courts decide, the fact is, again, that we're not free. Colonialism, this is a colonial institution. The US Supreme Court is a colonial institution that has ruled against African people from its inception. It is a court of the colonizer. And we have continued in our struggle as African people to struggle to destroy the US Supreme Court. We want to destroy the US government. We want to destroy all of these institutions that have oppressed and exploited and attacked African people since the foundation of this country. We don't legitimize anything that they have to say either way. The fact remains that the only thing that legitimizes our ability to reproduce and produce for ourselves is our struggle against the people who are actually taking these things away from us and have been taken away from us. We legitimize ourselves by fighting in our own interests and creating institutions that actually solve the problems, attempt to solve the problems that colonialism is causing on our lives. So, this abortion question for us is, certainly there's going to be more barriers to getting abortions for African women, but, this is just one more thing, you know what I'm saying? In the context of living under a colonial oppressive system that, just add more things to the fire. Like all of these things are going to exist until we destroy imperialism and we destroy the colonizers. So it's just one more thing that we have to consider and fight against, which we will be able to do. The work to create dual and contending power projects is underway. You just saw some amazing videos about the work of the Black Power Blueprint and the Uhuru Waikalia African Women's Health Center. You've just heard from me about Arrest CPS and And even us, we have this Uhuru Kijiji Child Care Collective that, is a part of a long history of work in the party to create opportunities for African people to come together and take responsibility for the care and responsibility of our children in our community and the women who are in our community. So our Uhuru Kijiji Child Care Collective is our response to the colonial institutions that say that they are caring for our children, and for the way, and just so that we're clear, these colonial institutions do not care for our children. When they needed African women to be in the households of white women, and we left our children by the tree, or we left our children home while we took care of white people's children, there was no CPS knocking on our door talking about we're being bad parents, because it was in the direct interest of white power for us to be in the houses because we were caring for them. So we've released, this responsibility to take care of these white people, and now we have to take care of our children, and we're left with conditions that are inhospitable to life in our communities. And a lot of people are just making do. And our response, we just in here just struggling in the trenches with the African community who are, really doing the day-to-day work to fight against this system. And we've been organizing with other amazing organizations to raise up this issue, help people understand the significance and the crisis that is happening in the African community and why you need to be involved. There's a huge gap. There's a huge space here where that's an opportunity for people to dig in, to participate and to organize around this issue. And we're going to continue to push forward around these things. And so, we just invite everybody who's interested to learn more about the work of the African National Women's Organization. You can learn more about our work on ANWO at anwouhuru.org, and sign up for our newsletters and things like that, so that you can see the latest updates around the cases that we've been working on, but also the other work that we also are engaged in. So I just really appreciated the time and have an opportunity to talk to you about this important work. Uhuru.
Uhuru, thank you, President Yejide. I want to particularly point out how President Yejide has really put into context the reproductive justice issues that are so current right now, and the reactivity that's happening, particularly that I've noticed in the white community and white women in general, and how this overturning of Roe v. Wade has really ignited a certain kind of emotion in our communities. But clearly the work of the African People's Socialist Party has been going on long before this. It predates so many decades, this particular overturning of Roe v. Wade, and also the reactivity around reproductive justice that's happening in white communities. I'm really forever indebted to the Uhuru movement for the contextualization of these issues. And I appreciate Uhuru for its brilliant material analysis and how it shows that, this material analysis of the political structures which are responsible ultimately for the oppression of Black people, and how we can be a part of overturning the system as well. So it's my honor to introduce Deputy Chair Onezine Yeshitela. Onezine Yeshitela is the Deputy Chair of the African People's Socialist Party, the President of the African People's Education and Defense Fund, and the Vice President of Black Star Industries. Deputy Chair Onezine heads up over 50 economic institutions of the Uhuru movement, and with the understanding that the political and the economic are one, and that without self-sustaining economic foundation, there will be no justice for African people. In 2017, Deputy Chair Ona came to St. Louis originally for what was to be 2 weeks in order to locate and secure a building for the Uhuru House Organizing Center, which later became Aquaba Hall, 5 years later, Deputy Chair has built and led the Black Power Blueprint, which has encompassed a wide array of political and economic power institutions on the north side of St. Louis, including the Uhuru House, One Africa, One Nation Farmers Market, also Black Power Vanguard's basketball court, also Uhuru Jiko Community Commercial Kitchen, also multiple beautiful murals, a thriving community garden, and now the African Doula Project and Uhuru Wakalia African Women's Health Center. Please join us in welcoming Deputy Chair Onizine Yeshitela.
Hello, everyone. I just want to really, first, I want to thank the Reparation Legacy Project for inviting me to speak tonight. I know I have a PowerPoint coming up. I want to begin by recognizing my leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, who for over 50 years has dedicated his life to overturning the social system so Africa and African people can be free in this lifetime. Our very own President Ejide Orumela for leading the way forward for African women to play a major role in the revolution, and who is also a speaker tonight, who you just heard. I want to give a big uhuru to Chairwoman Penny Hess, who is the first white woman to go into the white community and challenge white people to stand on the right side of African and indigenous people around the world. I want to salute the leadership of Comrade President Jesse Neville, who continues to fight on every front in the white communities all over the world. And finally, I want to give a big uhuru to all the USM and the Reparation Legacy Steering Committee and the members of Uhuru Solidarity Movement who are joining this webinar today. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the mighty grants team who has also worked in conjunction with the Reparation Legacy Project as well. It's myself, Chair Maureen, Vice Chair Janice, Project Director Wendy, and USM and Reparations Project Legacy Leah. So I just really want to acknowledge them because they work hard to help us raise resources, and they are helping us raise resources now for the Uhuru Wakalia. So I'm here to speak to you about the theme of this conference. I want to move us beyond an academic and abstract discussion to practical solutions. The question is, how do we address the issue of reparation and the ability of white people to participate in redistribution of the wealth that has its foundation in the enslavement and economic exploitation of my people? In addition to the horrific number of Black children who die annually in childbirth in St. Louis that has already been noted, we also recognize that in the US, the gap in life expectancy between Africans and white people is estimated to be from 3.6 to 7%. These are some samples, some simple examples of the corrections of the titles in this conference, charging stolen Black life. Okay. It is necessary to state from the beginning for Black people, all life under colonialism is stolen Black life. Colonialism, by definition, is parasitic relationship between the colonizer and the colonized. It is a relationship that constitutes the domination of a people by foreign and alien power. Colonialism gave birth to the economic system that has enslaved African people and is responsible for the demand for reparations. It is a demand that calls for the colonizer to accept responsibility for the damage that is done to African people through colonial slavery. Whites, the colonizers, can begin the process of repairing the damage through voluntarily participating in a redistribution of wealth through reparation programs and campaigns that occur under the leadership of the Uhuru movement, which is what this meeting is about. I'm going to speak to you about one such program, Uhuru Wakalia, which means freedom to nurture. The Uhuru Wakalia Healthcare Center will contribute to empowering us to solve many of the lives and death struggles we face as African women. Building this capacity to nurture, support, and cultivate healing and wellness skills give African women the opportunity to care for our bodies, which is life-producing. Even more, these women can return to their skills they acquire towards building economic capacity for the community members who they train themselves. The foundation of Uhuru Wakalia is yoni steaming, a self-care technique that promotes health and reduces stress. It will teach self-care to women who are overworked and extremely stressed by limited resources and lack of safety in the world at large due to colonial conditions. Yoga, including trauma-sensitive yoga, along with African Girls Health Day Out, are also aspects of the health center that build these much-needed experiences of valuing self and thus expecting others to value you as well. This health center will not only impact the women it serves, but it will train women to be entrepreneurs. Economic empowerment is the foundation of the ability to create the kind of life you deserve. Working for oneself allows for full empowerment because you are in charge. They can become certified in these fields and provide for their families. We will be able to give back to our community and provide better health outcomes. This health center will offer a real ground-up approach to community development, as individuals are empowered and work together to empower others in the community. The community becomes self-sufficient. Self-sufficiency reduces stress and provides safety in a way that nothing else does. We have purchased the land at 3771 West Florissant in the heart of the most impoverished Black community in North St. Louis. We have the land, now we have the program and the collaborators. Here is the rendering of our Women's Health Center. Next slide. This includes laying out plans for the first floor that includes 2 conference rooms, 2 offices, beauty retail lobby, men and women's bathrooms, and a storage area. This is just a sample of what the lobby would look like. We want to really bring the art and beauty to this health center the African way. And the second floor would include a kitchenette, a spa, break room, support room, offices, and men and women restroom and storage unit. So we estimate this project would cost $420,000. We've raised $128,141. And we really want to thank our generous donors for all that you have contributed. So we still are in need of $291,859 to fund this health center. Traditionally, the Black community is a collective and sharing community with roots that go back to Africa. Traditional healthcare empowers us to use natural methods to heal and support ourselves. We are creating a health center for the next generation to become self-determined. We are paying it forward, and we're asking you to do the same by paying reparation. Today, we're calling on white people to take a stand in solidarity with Black power, with the goal to create a new economy that fulfills our vision of freedom for African and oppressed people everywhere. Reparations now. The colonial mode of production is where a country or nation lives off the lives and resources of other country, peoples, or nations. The colonial mode of production is a parasitic system, social system dominating the world, where the real producers have lost power over their political, social, and economic life. Conclusion, repair the damage, return the stolen wealth, fund the Black economic development. I just want to say thank you and uhuru.
Reparations. Woo, uhuru. Wow, thank you so much for that really brilliant presentation, Deputy Chair.
Thank you.
It's always just amazing to hear right from the powerful source of the amazing successes that the Black Power Blueprint and the African People's Socialist Party is doing.
You're
It's an honor to
welcome.
be a part of it. Yeah, I mean, as you heard, a little less than 292,000 is still needed for funding to construct the African Women's Health Center, and this health center needs to get funded as soon as possible. We have to get this thing built. Let's get it up there. So just a reminder that we will also be taking any questions. So if you go ahead and you can write them in the chat or in the Q&A section in Zoom, or you can write them in the chat on Facebook or YouTube, or if you're in person, just raise your hand when we get to it. So it is now my pleasure to introduce to you Penny Hess, who is the chairwoman of the African People's Solidarity Committee. Penny Hess. Chairwoman Penny is the chairwoman of the African People's Solidarity Committee, is the organization of white people under the direct leadership of the African People's Socialist Party. And Penny has been a member of APSC since its founding by the party in 1976. And under the leadership of Chairman Omali Yeshitela and the African People's Socialist Party, Chairwoman Penny has raised and helped popularize the demand for white reparations to African people. In 1991, she wrote the book Culture of Violence, updating and expanding it in 2000 as Overturning the Culture of Violence, which detailed the complicity and participation of white people in historical assaults and colonial violence against African and other oppressed peoples, and calls for all white people to join the struggle for reparations to African people as the way forward for all of humanity. Penny organizes and has been part of many reparations campaigns, such as the Marches Against Genocide, the founding of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, and many fundraising institutions of the African People's Socialist Party, such as the Uhuru Bakery Cafe, Uhuru Foods and Pies, and the Days of Reparations to African People. And under the leadership of the party, Penny has spoken throughout the US, Europe, and in Africa, calling on white people to join the movement for reparations as a revolutionary demand. Uhuru, Chairwoman Penny.
Thank you, Len. And I just really want to welcome everybody who's part of this incredible webinar and event here, our hybrid event here tonight on this very, very important question. And I want to begin by thanking Deputy Chair Onizane Yeshitela for that incredible presentation, which is just a tiny, tiny bit of what you do and what you have put on the ground as part of the Black Power Blueprint and the other 50 institutions of the African People's Socialist Party that you coordinate. And it's amazing, and there's nothing else like this in the world. I want to salute President Yejide Aramila of the African National Women's Organization, and just the powerful work and presentation that you have made. And I just want to salute Chairman Omali Yeshitela, who it's such an honor, Chairman, to have you here tonight. And just to say that Chairman Omali Yeshitela has fought his entire life for the liberation of Africa and African people, and very serious about making this happen, solving the problems of why the Black Power, the African Revolution of the 1960s was defeated by the US government, and what it would take to win. And one of the many things that the chairman has done, and there are so many that, that would be a whole event. And I do want to have that. I want people to know what the chairman is responsible for, because when you hear the word reparations, it was Chairman Omali Yeshitela that's fought for that for over 50 or 60 years, who has made it a household word and had that goal. And now it is a household word. We know that. Who has brought the question of colonialism to the forefront. And when the chairman is talking about, and my job, by the way, is under the leadership of the party to speak to white people, our job, and to take the understandings which are decidedly on the side of the African working class and the oppressed and colonized peoples on the planet Earth. This is not a marketplace of many ideas. This is the ideas that are suppressed, and the narrative of the colonizer determines everything that we read and hear in the society. And the African People's Socialist Party is raising up the right of African people to control Africa, the African working class. That is never, if you read the pundits, as the chairman, talks about, you never hear the question or the factor of African people themselves controlling Africa. It's always like, what European country is going to control Africa? Not that African people are going to control Africa, not the neo-colonial echelon, but the African working class. I have read that the World Bank figure is that 85% of the population of Africa lives on $5.50 or less a day, yet Africa has the wealthiest, the greatest amount of resources necessary for the whole world, and it's still colonialism. And that the chairman, when the chairman and the party use the term African, they're saying that African people are one people, wherever they have, as the chairman has said, wherever they have been forcibly dispersed around the world, through the assault on Africa, through the kidnapping of African people, the enslavement of African people, and the colonization of Africa, and that African people are African in the Caribbean, in Brazil, in Canada, in Europe, in any place that they have been dispersed, and certainly on the continent of Africa. So the chairman has built organization all around the world. And when we see what we can be part of as white people, as part of the colonizer nation, this is so much bigger than St. Louis. This is so much bigger than the United States. This is about changing the world. And it is really, really powerful to see. And I just have profound appreciation and inspired by Chairman Omali Yeshitela every day, because he is changing the world, and it's the only thing that is positive. Look at the news. What is positive? What Deputy Chair just put out is positive, and that's just a tiny bit of what the party is doing, but incredibly, incredibly significant and important. And so, yeah, one of the things that, I mean, it only seems right that African people have to control Africa. I mean, that just makes sense. That can't even be debated. Africa belongs to African people, and that Africa's resources, including the hundreds of years of stolen resources, must belong to African people, must be in their hands to rebuild their nation, to consolidate their nation and their people. And that's what reparations means, not some kind of favor or charity or anything else. And I do want to say that Chairman Omali Yeshitela and the African People's Socialist Party, Deputy Chair Onus Yeshitela, it helps me and us, meaning white people, to see the world as it really is, as it really is. And the chairman is always showing, like, he turns history right side up, and he's always showing us, wow, the things that we don't even realize we're saying or seeing in a certain way. But it's the narrative of the colonizer and not through the eyes of the African working class. And one of the things that we have a responsibility to talk to white people about is the concept of the chairman called the colonial mode of production. That, how the history books and pundits and news things, it's always about, this economy, the capitalist economy of the US is good, except for, as Biden recently said, the few stains on the soul of America, the enslavement of African people, the genocide. No, the chairman turns that right side up and says that that is the essence of how this society and system was born, and how Europe transformed from feudalism to the wealthiest, feudalism was very impoverished, to the wealthiest system that controls the world based on the assault on Africa, the kidnapping of African human beings, the trafficking, the enslavement, the theft of African resources, and the genocide of the indigenous people and the colonial domination of the majority of the planet Earth. That is what created the system. That's what made Europeans and white people, wherever we are, wealthy and have resources. That is what the colonial mode of production is. And this is how it was born, and this is how it is. And when we talk about the struggle and condition of African women, we're talking about that, the colonial mode of production. That it is just like a perfect example of that. Chairman has a very poignant statement that African people have been forced to produce and reproduce real life for white people for 600 years and not for themselves. And, so we have to say and to understand something that President Yejide often says, that there's no such thing as women in general. There's not a movement of women in general. There's white women's movement and interest, and African women, which is inside the context of fighting colonialism as a whole people and having power over their lives, so that a Supreme Court of colonialism can't take something away from African people or give something to African people. It's not about that. And just to say something on the Roe v. Wade issue, because it is something that a lot of white women are talking about, that historically it was very understood in 1973 when that law went in, that abortion is a white women's issue. African women are struggling for the right to reproduce. And it is not saying that, if African people were free, that there would or wouldn't be abortion. It's not a moral question. It's a question of a right of a people to make their own decisions and to have a society where abortion might not even be necessary, where it isn't something that because in this period, African women, I read, are 38% of the people who received an abortion in the last year. And together with indigenous women, it's something like 66%. So, it's something that colonialism forces African and colonized women into a situation where they can't feed a child for whatever reason. And that in 1973, it was something that white women were fighting for. And that, just want to say, because African women battled centuries of forced sterilization, sky-high infant, and President Yejide mentioned some of these things, but I want to reiterate it to other white people, that sky-high infant and maternal mortality rates, which continue today, children being taken away by the state, as President Yejide described, and the foster care system, along with greater inaccessibility to prenatal care, higher infant mortality rates, and maternal mortality rates that span even income variation inside of the African community. I mean, even petty bourgeois African women have higher infant and maternal mortality than white women do. But even more than that, that this system of colonialism has attacked over and over again. When white people have attacked African people, they have attacked the right of African women to reproduce for themselves and for their community. And that colonial terror that we see in the form of lynchings or, which included things like hanging, lynching, murdering, mutilating pregnant African women and cutting babies out of their wombs, and just terror and violence inflicted on them. And that enslaved African women were forced into breeding pens to breed babies that were commodities and sold on the market, that made people like Thomas Jefferson and the founding fathers of the US wealthy. That babies, African babies, were commodities, and in so many ways still are, because the foster care and CPS and all the things that have been talked about are things that make money for the system. And that, even as the chairman has pointed out, that the colonial prison population, which the US has the highest prison population in the entire world, the majority of whom in prison are African, and a lot of African men and women, which separates them from their community to such an extent that the New York Times a few years ago did an article on the 1.5 million African men missing from their communities. That there's only 80 men for every 100 African women in African communities, and especially around here in St. Louis. And that's a form of genocide that is separating and impairing the right of African people to be able to reproduce their own life. And that is genocide. That is part of the Genocide Convention. So colonized women and African women are fighting, and men are fighting for the right to reproduce lives for themselves and for power. And that's what we see in the presentation by Deputy Chair, that it doesn't just talk about it, it puts it on the ground, as she says, and is about taking power, and is part of a larger program that includes a community basketball court and as she said, prison housing of African people coming out of prison and a job training, and murals and community gardens, One Africa, One Nation Farmers Market, the Uhuru House, and so much more. And so, the thing that we have to understand is that white people are not going to lead the struggle for revolution, for changing this world. The colonizer can't do that, because we sit on the pedestal of the oppression of African people. But we can be part of a strategy that the African Revolution has to send white people behind enemy lines, so to speak, into the white community as vehicles of Black power and white face. We can do that. And that's why the question of reparations is so critical today. It is the critical question for us, no matter what we're talking about, the environment or war or anything. The question of reparations goes to the heart of how this violent and vicious and dehumanizing system was created, how it works. And it's about overturning that by returning the stolen resources into the hands of the African working class, fighting not against racism, but for power, as we can see. So this is a very, very exciting movement. And we, in the Solidarity Movement, as you can see, we're all over the US in something like 120 or 130 cities in the US. And we're building, Chairman is going to be speaking in different cities, including Portland, Oregon, Oakland, California, Philadelphia, and many other places where we have members in the upcoming period. And we want to call on white people to join, to turn over the resources in such a positive way to the programs that are actually building the new world for our very eyes, and get active, become a member, join in the struggle every single day to build reparations from the white community, to stand in solidarity with the liberation of Africa and African people and all oppressed and colonized peoples everywhere. Uhuru and unity through reparations.
Wow, Chairwoman Penny, thank you so much for that really, really powerful presentation. I just really, really salute you and your relentless leadership in leading the African People's Solidarity Committee for the last like 45 years or something like that. Yeah, you just really set the bar high for all white people and the reparations work that we need to join in order to just be on the right side of history. This is all of our future. We need to just turn over the resources and just be on the right side of history. So really, really salute you. So now I do want to introduce Leah and Jesse, who will talk about how you can join Reparations Legacy Project and contribute to reparations towards the Uhuru Wakulia African Women's Health Center. Uhuru, Jesse, and Leah.
All right, Uhuru, let's give another round of applause for our presentation. And Leah, are you there? How you doing?
Hello, Uhuru, I am here. I'm very glad to be here. Really want to appreciate all of the presentations. Those were just wonderful, really laid out the importance of why we're all gathered here today.
Absolutely, I totally agree, Leah. And I just want to join you in saluting and appreciating these amazing presentations. I want to salute and acknowledge the presence of and leadership of Chairman Omali Shatella and Deputy Chair Ona Zanea Shatella, and President Yejide, Chairwoman Penny Hess, and these were very profound presentations. And this is the part of the program where we, as the Reparations Legacy Project, are inviting all of you who made the decision to spend your Wednesday night here with us to participate, to contribute in the process of repairing the damage of hundreds of years of this colonial mode of production that we've heard such eloquent presentations about tonight, by becoming reparations legacy donors and taking the reparations pledge to fund the construction of the Uhuru Wakulia African Women's Health Center. Let's make this happen. Let's make reparations a reality. And as we saw in Deputy Chair Ona's presentation, the amount needed that we are committed as the Reparations Legacy Project to raising is $291,859, which is less than 1/3 of the average median assets of a white family in the United States, which is $900,000, which is just a little bit more than the average median assets of a white family in Boston, which is $250,000, where the average Black family's median assets is $8. So we know that this money is in the white community, that white people, that because of this colonial mode of production, we have access to these resources. And that is why we are making this call to white people who have access to wealth, social wealth, generational wealth, financial wealth, to pay reparations, to redistribute that wealth in the form of reparations to the Uhuru Wakulia African Women's Health Center. And when you become a reparations legacy donor, you are taking the reparations pledge. And I think we can bring the slide up at this point, but I'll keep going. So our goal tonight is for 10 people to take the reparations legacy pledge, and to make a commitment to redistribute or pay reparations of at least $5,000 or more to the Uhuru Wakulia African Women's Health Center. Think about this. If 59 people took the reparations pledge to contribute $5,000 each, the health center would be funded. Construction would begin. So we are inviting all of us. There are about 50 people in person and online participating in this meeting from throughout the US and beyond. So we are inviting all who are ready to step forward to make a commitment. And our goal tonight is to win 10 people at minimum to become reparations legacy donors right here and right now. And what I want to say is that based on what we've learned tonight, we can see that the only thing that stands in the way of African people having access, having all of these programs, having health centers, having marketplaces and all of these programs that we see in the Black Power Blueprint everywhere where African people exist, is that their resources have been taken from them by this colonial system, by us, by white people, that they don't have access to their own resources because those resources are in our communities. And it is within the same social system that we saw that statistic, 15 kindergarten classrooms could be filled by the children who were never born because they died in childbirth in St. Louis in 1 year alone. In that same social system, there are 22.2 million millionaires in the United States, most of them white. So that is why we're making this call, and I want to turn it over to you, Leah.
Yeah, that's right, Jesse. And that's what makes the reparations pledge so meaningful. And I want to go into more what that reparations pledge is and just lay that out for everyone. So the reparations pledge is a commitment by white individuals, families, and businesses who have access to wealth to pay reparations to the African community through redistributing resources directly to the movement for Black economic development, liberation, and self-determination. So when you're taking this reparations pledge, you are saying, I pledge to take responsibility for repairing the multi-generational damage of colonialism, slavery, genocide against African, Indigenous, and colonized peoples. This is the ongoing system of violence and exploitation that forms the foundation of white prosperity. So you're saying, I pledge to redistribute resources to the Uhuru movement as a proactive and conscious stand of reparations, not as quote unquote charity, but as the return of stolen wealth back into the hands of African people. So I do want to take a moment to really appreciate and acknowledge our key reparations legacy donors, send out a really big thank you to all of them. This includes Mark Anderson, John Rulak, Janice Kant, Ali Ayello, Lottie Abdullah, Eric Alm, Hilary Giaval, Nick Davis, Izzy Snyder, Zoe Gravitz, Carol Corey, John Masters, the Community Arts and Movement Project, and Angelica Mueller-Rowry, and of course, our anonymous donors as well. If you want to be an anonymous donor to the Reparations Legacy Project, you can absolutely do that as well.
Definitely, and I want to shout out Leah Fifield, who is also a Reparations Legacy donor. So we can go to the next slide. So we're talking about how you can take the reparations pledge and what this means. And the question that this program that the African People's Socialist Party has posed to white people with the creation of the Reparations Legacy Project is, what will our legacy be? That is the question that we have to answer. And there's a famous quote from Chairman Omali Yeshitela, who is responsible, as we've heard, for making reparations a household word. And many years ago, Chairman Omali Yeshitela said that African people and white people have both inherited the legacy of slavery, that African people inherited the poverty of having been enslaved, and white people inherited the wealth of the enslaver. And as the chairman said, African people are determined to change that legacy. So it is incumbent upon white people to join in solidarity and unity with African people in undoing, in reversing that legacy, and making it so that the next generation will not inherit the legacy of slavery, but will inherit the legacy of repair and justice and self-determination. And that's what our legacy will be. That's what our legacy can be when we become reparations legacy donors. So yes, I'll turn it back over to Leah.
Yeah, so there are many white people who have heard this call and have, taken the reparations legacy pledge and have been moved to make a stand. So there are people who have stepped up to join the reparations community and have donated $50,000 and $100,000 and even more to the programs of the Black Power Blueprint. And of course, we want to thank all of these donations that have happened. This is a stand of repairing centuries of violence and damage. So tonight, we want to put out the call. We want to see if there is one person out there, maybe there is somebody watching that is so moved by these projects, by this Uhuru wa Kulia African Women's Health Center, that you want to fund it. You're saying, yes, I can put down that $292,000. I'm going to take a stand. I'm going to pay reparations. I'm going to make a commitment. We are here if you want to be doing that. So you can go to reparationslegacy.org/pledge and fill out the form, and we will get in contact with you. Alternately, you can email us at info@reparationslegacy.org. We'll get right back to you. This whole program is co-sponsored by a nonprofit, a 501c3. So of course, any donation that you make tonight or in the future at any time is tax deductible. So we really encourage you to make your contribution tonight, pay reparations tonight. Go to reparationslegacy.org/pledge and fill out the pledge form so that we can get in touch with you. And of course, there's many other ways to redistribute wealth. You could use a donor advised fund if you have access to that. You could send in a check. However you want to be paying reparations, we will work with you to figure out how to make that a reality. But in order for us to know that you want to do that, you need to go to reparationslegacy.org/pledge and fill out the pledge form so that you can make your commitment to funding the Uhuru wa Kulia Health Center. And if we're going to just break this down a little bit more, maybe there is one person tonight that can fully fund the health center, and that would be great. But we can also break it down. If 30 people wanted to contribute $10,000 tonight, we would have the health center funded. We could get going with construction. We can get the programming and all of the projects, that have already started, into their home of the Uhuru wa Kulia African Women's Health Center. So if there are 30 people out there tonight that are saying, yes, I believe in this. This is what I want to be doing with the resources and the wealth that I have access to. Go to reparationslegacy.org/pledge and fill out the pledge form. And if you feel moved to pay reparations tonight, if you're on Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, and you want to step up, feel free to drop your name in the chat if you feel comfortable doing that so that we can announce your name, so that we can thank you personally. There's many ways to be a part of the Reparations Legacy Project, but we are calling on, we have the goal tonight of at least 10 people becoming Reparations Legacy donors at that $5,000 level. So if you want to do that, again, go to reparationslegacy.org/pledge. And the more you give, the bigger your impact, but absolutely every single contribution really makes a difference. Whatever amount of reparations you are able to pay is going to make a difference. And becoming a Reparations Legacy Project donor is making a commitment to redistributing wealth, and in doing so, returning power and resources to the communities from which they have been stolen. And this is an act of repair. We invite you to be part of our reparations community that is committed to engaging in this reparative work. And if you actually want to donate less than $5,000 tonight, there's absolutely a way that you can do that. If you just go directly to blackpowerblueprint.org/health center, you can make your donation and your reparations payment below that $5,000 level directly to the Black Power Blueprint.
Thank you, Leah. And I just want to reiterate that, you can get in touch with us. You can let us know in the chat. Of course, we definitely, respect anyone's wish to be anonymous, so you can get in touch with us one-on-one as well. But if you are planning to pay reparations to the health center, to become a Reparations Legacy donor, and you want to be loud and proud about it and inspire others to do the same, you can put it in the chat here on Zoom or on Facebook or YouTube, and we will announce it. And also, again, you can go to reparationslegacy.org/pledge and fill out that pledge form. It's very short. It doesn't ask for too much information, basically just what we need to get in touch with you about your starting your journey through this process of reparations to the work of the African Liberation Movement and the Black Power Blueprint. So reparationslegacy.org/pledge, or you can email us at info@reparationslegacy.org. Or let's say you just want to go ahead and donate the money right now on the Black Power Blueprint's website of any amount. Go to blackpowerblueprint.org/health center, which you can see on the screen right now. So we want to thank everybody who has participated in this event. Thank you to Leah. We're going to go into Q&A, but before we do, I just want to say again how honored we are to have Chairman Omali Yeshitela here. And Chairman, just wanted to ask you if there's any comments that you would like to make at this time, if you'd like.
I don't want to extend the discussion.
Chairman, this mic is actually.
Uhuru, thank you very much. I was hesitant to show up because I don't want to extend the discussion beyond the amount of time that we've allocated for this meeting. I do think it's an extraordinarily important meeting, and I think the people who are here extraordinary people. Comrade Penny Hess and I have worked together now for more than 40 years on this project of actual liberation. And I want to say that one thing that makes everyone here so important is that you're pioneers. And part of what I mean by that is there's some discussion and some instances, a lot of debate around the question of reparations. Reparations is something that's even during the last presidential elections, at least two of the Democratic Party presidential candidates raised this question. It's something that we have run candidates. In fact, we ran Jesse Neville for mayor in St. Petersburg, Florida, with the around the demand for reparations. We initiated the first electoral campaigns in this country around reparations. And I think that this has become a part of the debate. In fact, the campaigns that we initiated for city posts, electoral posts in St. Petersburg, Florida, resulted in Barack Hussein Obama engaging in endorsing our opponents. The first time he ever engaged in a city election in terms of endorsing anybody was because he was fighting to block the struggle that we were waging for reparations. So it's an important issue and it's a cutting edge issue. But the fact is, it's an issue whose time has come. There's no way to get around it. It's not just a matter of a discussion that we've initiated in the African People's Socialist Party or the Uhuru movement, though we did initiate it as a mass issue. It never was a mass issue with mass organizations created for the pursuit until we did it. But the thing that helps to make you pioneers is that while people are debating this and saying, well, who's going to get it? And, I wasn't here and I didn't, have anything to do with it. And this kind of nonsense, as though there's not such a thing as social wealth and social poverty. Everybody knows that there is social wealth and that white people do enjoy social wealth, and Africans and indigenous people, everybody who suffered from some form of colonialism enjoys social poverty. It's not just me that's poor. And even if you might find one rich African, the vast majority of Africans are not rich because we are socially impoverished by this relationship. But the thing that makes you pioneers is the fact that while people are debating the question, reparations is happening. We are the only movement in the world right now that's engaged in collecting reparations. It's not mystery. The government doesn't have to do it. We don't need this thing, HR 40, that's been debated, that whether the United States Congress is going to do this or that. I mean, the people who are here, the people who are participating in this legacy program are responsible for helping to make things like the doula and the other kinds of economic development projects that constitute the Black Power Blueprint. These are the pioneers. These are the people who are in front of this question. The African People's Solidarity Committee, the Uhuru Solidarity Movement are pioneers in front of the question, collecting reparations right now And more than that, not relying on the government, in many ways, not even relying on corporations, though we're going to get reparations from the corporations. But the thing is winning people. The thing is that we believe that any genuine revolution, any transformation is going to have to rely on the participation of the mass of people. And so we say that the mass of African people have to be engaged in making this struggle, and then everybody else who can be won to it, people, won to it, saying that we want to change this relationship, because everybody who lives in the United States that thinks about coming to the United States understands something about this or misunderstands this relationship between Black people and white people. That's just it. People don't necessarily like to talk about it, but it's there. It's a 900-pound, if you will, gorilla in the room all the time. So we have to deal with how do we rectify this relationship? And the thing about the reparations issue, it's a profound form of, not only is it a form of what you call it, self-criticism, that ordinary people can engage in. You don't have to wait for Biden. You don't have to wait for Kamala Harris. You don't have to wait for all these other forces. People can step forward and participate in redefining this relationship you have with Africans and other colonized people. I think that's great. I think that's part of what it is we're talking about, the people's movement. That's what African People's Solidarity Committee functions as. That's what the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. I mean, this is a movement that with participants, this movement we're talking about now, Uhuru Solidarity Movement alone, and from 127 to 130 cities of white people who are demanding and organizing in their communities and their families and their friends and everybody else for reparations. In addition, they're also saying Bank of America has to pay reparations. But these are ordinary people, and ordinary people who get together and say, corporations, you need to do this as well. You need to do this. You need to take responsibility. Because, you know, people who we deal with all the time like to flip the script and then say, Black people need to take responsibility. Take responsibility. We are taking responsibility. We're gonna kick your ass. That's taking responsibility. But that's another story. But the fact is that this is a people's movement, and it relies on the people to engage. And that's why we're having this discussion with you right now. I think that's critically significant. This extraordinary woman here, Onezene Ishitela, is a genius. She refuses sometimes to do some things that I prefer done, but she's over more than 50 economic institutions. Go down West Florissant. Go to West Florissant and Alice. And look at the venue, what do you call it? The community center and that's been created there. Look at the murals that's up there. Look at the basketball court as it's coming up right now in the middle of a community that they have relegated to a state of disaster and despair. And somebody came up to the person who was doing the mural the other day, and I think Comrade Kitty from the African People's Solidarity Committee was there. And this African man said something to the effect, I'm a Black nationalist, he said. He said that white people, and our community is depressed. And when we get depressed, we don't have the ability to get psychiatrists and things like that, but look at this mural. This is what's uplifting us. That's what they say. We're raising up an entire community, and you have an opportunity to play a role in that. That's part of repairing the damage. This is what we're talking about, being pioneers. So that's one thing I wanted to say. So I think that's really important. So reparations is happening now. And the other thing I want to say is this, because everybody hates what's going on in this country right now. Everybody hates what's going on in the world right now. People all around the world are engaged in some kind of struggle, and America is in the center of it all. And that's just an objective reality. And whether it's a Supreme Court decision, and we can have a lot to say about that, or other things, police killings in our communities, the theft of our children through CPS, et cetera. Nobody likes it. But most people don't understand the basis of it. They don't understand what the source of this contradiction is. What is all this stuff that we don't like? Because if we knew what the hell it was, we'd do something about it. Most of us try to do something about it, but we're misinformed. We've accepted the definition of this reality that comes from those who caused the problem. We're in this kind of information silo where the voice of the oppressed cannot be heard, and especially among white people, the colonizers, who have always been subjects of history.
and are not accustomed to hearing what other people think about the world. The rest of us have been objects of history that you've told, that you've understood. But I have a viewpoint, and I don't care. The violence and everything that we've had to experience will not prevent me from experiencing this and articulating my viewpoint. I do not have the same view of you that you have of you. Right. Therefore, you're always upset when you hear my view of you. You understand? And that's something that we have to break away from. And the colonizer has to develop the ability to hear, because if you don't, Twin Towers will come down, other kinds of stuff will happen, because the world is speaking loudly and they're not always speaking as calmly as I am now. All right, so I just wanted to just say that, and I think it's really important, and I am hoping that we can participate in helping to bring some sense, especially in this country. America, Israel, South Africa, countries like that, the most politically backwards countries in the world, have been for the longest period of time. And produce a high production of mediocrity, because it has to be mediocrity, because you don't let anybody else participate. Nobody else can say anything. Nobody else can get in. So all you have is this mediocre stuff that only comes from you, from white people. And most white people, when you have an opportunity, you know the truth. It's only when you look at me that you think you're smart, but if you only have to deal with yourselves and you look in the mirror, you know you ain't all that. You know you ain't all that. You understand? You say that yourself all the time. You're always questioning who you are and, et cetera. So that's just in the world. And that's good, to move from this hubris of this assumption of superiority and everything else. So we want to help to move the politic from this subjective defense of whiteness, of racial politics, and look at colonialism. Colonialism is a system, a colonial mode of production, attack the system. And this system, when you kill colonialism, you kill the colonizer, and white people are the colonizer, but you also kill the colonized, because there is a condition for the existence of both the colonizer and the colonizers. Colonialism, the system. So we want to kill the system. That's all we're saying. So please, make your contributions to this project that we're talking about now. We're gonna make it happen. You're gonna make it happen. And I just want to express appreciation for all of you pioneers who've joined into this process right now, and to these incredible leaders, Comrade Jesse, Comrade Hallie, who y'all can't see, y'all, yeah, Amanda and Lynn, and Comrade Chairwoman Penny, and my comrade, Deputy Chair, Ona Zene Ishitella, the artist who is responsible for so much of what we've seen in terms of economic development program, and Comrade Yejide, who, and Comrade Ona Zene Ishitella is saying something about Kitty, and Kitty Riley, who's played such a really important role in this too. But Yejide, thank you so much. That was a brilliant presentation, and you've been so good in terms of breaking us out of this whole perception that people have around the question of women. And African women are engaged in the same struggle and contradiction that colonized African men are engaged in, and oppressed and colonized peoples around the world. So thank you so much. Uhuru.
Uhuru, thank you, Chairman. Uhuru. All right, so I just want to appreciate Chairman Amalia Tutela for those powerful words. That probably the only time I would be happy to be referred to as a pioneer. So, but that was a very powerful statement, Chairman, and just salute your leadership and thank you for being here. And clearly, people were inspired. I just wanted to give a shout out to two people who actually decided to go ahead and go to the blackpowerblueprint.org/health center and make their contributions. One is Wendy Craig. Wow. Who put in $25 tonight. And one is Brooking, and I believe Brooking is here with us right there, who put in $500 towards the Really salute both of you. Thank you so much for your stand of reparations. And we encourage people to be like Wendy, be like Brooking, go to blackpowerblueprint.org/health center if you want to go ahead and make your contribution online right now tonight. And if you want to sign up to become a Reparations Legacy donor to give $5,000 or more, go to reparationslegacy.org/pledge. So, uhuru. I'll turn it back over to Len.
Wow.
Can we say all the places where people are on?
Oh, yeah.
Has anybody done that? And I don't want to take time if not, but I know people are on from all over.
Let's see. Is that
including some of our speakers, President Yesterday, and
yeah, well,
Carrie and Leah.
President Yesterday joining us from Washington, D.C. And we have us here. We're in St. Louis, Missouri. Let's see. We have. Oh yeah. Okay. Let me take a look here. Oh, I see. Okay. Guess I should just read the script.
Oh, hey.
All right. So St. Petersburg, Florida, St. Louis, Missouri, Buffalo, New York, Philadelphia, PA, Florissant, Missouri, Boston, Massachusetts, Yukon, Canada, Largo, Florida, Ontario, Canada, Oakland, California, Maryland, Louisville, Kentucky, San Diego, California, Eugene, Oregon, Corona, California, and Gainesville, Florida. Uhuru, comrades out there.
All right.
All right. So that was just really such a brilliant call for joining the Reparations Legacy Project by Chair Jesse and Leah from the grants team for the Reparations Legacy Project. And just want to really salute Chairman Amalia Chatel. That was really just amazing, really powerful. So now is the time we're going to open it up for some Q&A. So if you have some questions, let's see if we have some questions here. I lost my spot, so let's see. Okay, so this is one comment from Angelica, and Angelica says, I would like to get Deputy Chair Ona Zane's presentation on the Uhuru Wakulia in order to be able to introduce it to CAMP, the board, and which is the Community Arts and Movement Project, to make a larger contribution to African self-determination in North St. Louis. Reparations now.
Just to say that CAMP has already contributed.
Yes.
So we just really want to thank CAMP, and that's powerful.
Yes, that's very powerful.
And we will get
Yes, thank you so much, Angelica and CAMP.
Do you guys know where CAMP is? I can get this to me.
Yes.
Well, yes,
Oh,
we
okay.
do. Yeah. And they gave last year
Oh,
as
okay.
well. Yeah. They're here in St. Louis, but we can get that together.
All right. So our next comment is from Kimberly, and Kimberly says, first, it must be recognized the space we all share was Africa before it was named Africa. It was not Asia or Europe first. Uhuru Kimberly, thank you for the comment. And let's see, we have a comment from Virginia. Uhuru comrades, salute to all the speakers, so powerful. I really appreciate this analysis so much, and knowing the resources raised goes to fight and overturn colonialism. Uhuru. All right. Carrie, you want to take it away for the next couple?
So we have Allie. Uhuru, brilliant and very moving event. Powerful Black Power Blueprint, African Women's Health Center. I pledge $100. Awesome. By Friday, that's 2 days from now. Angelica, will you be able to also get funds from the city of St. Louis? Who should we direct this question to? So the question is, can we get funds from the city of St. Louis for the health center?
Who's asked that question?
Angelica.
Right now, we are looking at St. Louis because they have grants available to different corridors. They have the West Florissant corridor. They have the Natural Bridge corridor and they have the Goodfellow corridor, and we sit on both of those corridors. So we're going to be, we actually have sent a letter of interest to the Economic Development Department, Mr. Nichols, and we're waiting on getting a meeting with him to discuss, you know, how we can move forward. So yes, we are in communication with the City of St. Louis on getting funds for the health center and for the commercial cafe kitchen.
Uhuru. I also want to pledge, this is me, Carrie, I want to pledge $100 straight away. Uhuru.
Uhuru, Carrie. Woo. I also just want to shout out Diane, who's pledging $25. Uhuru, Diane. All right. Diane's also a member of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement and just does some amazing work here. Let's see. So it looks like we don't have any other questions or comments at the moment.
We have 2 other donors.
Oh, we have 2 other donors.
Do you see those?
I don't.
Okay. I'll say it. You can repeat it. So we have signing up on the Reparations Legacy Pledge form is Janice Cant.
Janice Cant.
Who is saying that she will pledge $1,000 in addition to the $5,000 she donated a few months ago.
Wow. Thank you, Janice. So Janice just signed the reparations pledge and is pledging $1,000 in addition to the $5,000 that she donated a few months ago. Uhuru, Janice, really appreciate you, comrade.
And Maureen Wagner donated $100. All
right. Maureen Wagner donated $100. Uhuru, Maureen. Awesome. Let's see. It looks like maybe there's another pledge here. I think that might be from Angelica. Angelica is saying, I pledge $5,000 from my parents' inheritance.
Wow.
Angelica, wow. Yeah, Angelica, we just really appreciate you. That's amazing. Really appreciate your support of the Black Power Blueprint.
Yes.
Wow.
Thank you, Angelica. And comrade, let's see, Rachel is pledging $25. Who are Rachel? Rachel's a new USM member. Really appreciate you.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. I think I don't see any other questions or comments at the moment.
The deputy chair and I will donate $1,000.
Wow. So I don't know if folks heard that, but the chairman and deputy chair are pledging to donate, what was it, 1,000? Between the two of them. Wow, that's amazing. Wow. Thank you so much.
Wow.
Great. Awesome.
Carrie is pledging $100.
Oh, right, Carrie. Uhuru, Carrie. Wow, that's amazing. $100. Awesome. All right.
Oh, and bookings.
Oh, yes.
So I'm wondering how long this fundraiser is going. I'm thinking about other groups I work with and putting this project out as a way to get money from other fundraising efforts. So is there any restrictions around that or timelines or anything?
I just want to repeat the question so that in case anybody else on the call here has the same question. So Brooking just asked if there's a time limit, on does this fundraising campaign end at any point? No, it does not. We want to raise the funds to get this health center built. And as you saw, there's still $292,000 that still needs to be raised, and that's just for to construct the health center. So I don't know if anybody else wants to address this as well.
No, it's a continuation. Reparations is forever. So we're gonna towards one until we get the resources.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna be raising resources for this campaign.
And the blueprint.org project in particular, is that 501c3 as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Then I can put this out there on other lists for people to consider giving money.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Great. And learn somebody.
Hi. My first name is Lasavia Joe. So first and foremost, I am. Thank you so much. This is my very first meeting. So I met Haley at Pride this weekend, and she had told me about this amazing opportunity, this amazing organization, and I wanted to offer you guys an opportunity. So I am a yoga instructor, and so I was wondering if I could partner with you guys to host a ticket-based yoga class where I would charge people maybe $20 to $25 in tickets, and then have all of that be donated back for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely, that would be awesome. And I just really appreciate that. That is very exciting. And even Carrie, who's also a yoga instructor who has done that for years as a fundraiser. So just thank you. That's great.
Yeah, that's great.
That is really great. Really appreciate that.
Carrie's happy.
Okay.
I just want to say also, we're in the process of the basketball is being constructed now, and it's just amazing the process that's happening on West Florissant and College. We want to invite people down. You can come and look at the site. Jamie, the artist, has done an amazing job on a mural that's, brought a lot of pride to this community. As a matter of fact, Jamie, the artist, she's from Birmingham, Alabama. She will be moving to St. Louis is it tomorrow, Friday or Thursday? She'll be moving July 1st to St. Louis. So it's going to be really, really amazing. Yes. And just the pride that she has brought to this community and the people who just stop by and visit her. She had a lady just come by and just gave her $100 bill, because they were so impressed with everything that she was doing. She had people just come with their lawn chairs and bring her fruit and water, because it's just amazing how the Black Power Blueprint is transforming the north side of St. Louis. So if you're in the area, come see it. Ask for a tour. We do tours of the Black Power Blueprint. So we will be happy to tour you and let you see all the projects that we are building right here on the ground.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. And I just wanted to let people know that, we were planning to, well, of course we have to get it on the book, but we have a summer intensive that's going to be going on July 10th to the 17th. And we were planning to have on that Monday afternoon a group tour, if possible. That's something that we want to, if possible, get on the schedule and be able to bring people. So that would be Monday afternoon, the 10th, right? The 10th?
Yes.
That's the correct day. If that's not a good time, I know people work and stuff, but if it's not a good time, like Deputy Chair said, there can be other times as well, but.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So we have more donations
Oh, great.
Ryan Fogarty, $25.
Raya. Raya just donated $25. Reparations. Raya.
Ruby Gittleson, $50.
And Ruby just donated $50. Ruby. And
Janet Capron, oh, you got it.
I do, yeah. And Janet donated $25 to the Health Center.
Janet. Good to hear from you.
Wow, we have some really just amazing people on this call, really, and in this room.
This is an inaccurate number because I don't think it's including everything, but we've raised at least $7,325.
Okay, we've raised at least $7,025.
Wow.
Awesome.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that is fantastic. That's great.
All
right. So I just want to thank everybody so much. Oh, yes, sorry, one more.
Yeah, I just wanted to also make the connection that one of the legacies of colonialism is that white people have access to certain colonial systems such as credit. Like white people have much more access to, easier access to getting credit. So another form of reparations is take out a loan for us. Because the Black community has been historically disenfranchised and not been able to take out loans. So this is a form of bringing it back. Reparations.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so let's see. All right, so I don't think there are any other comments at the moment. But just want to thank everybody so much for your support and for your participation in this really, really powerful event. And thank you so much to our really amazing speakers. Just really want to salute our leadership and the leadership of the Black Power Blueprint. And oh yes.
Sorry to cut it, but just wanted to see if President Yejide wants.
Oh yes, of course, please. Yes.
Uhuru comrades. No, Uhuru comrade, I don't have anything I wanted to say in addition. I did want to appreciate the entire presentation and all of the speakers, Deputy Chair Ona Zanaya Shatella, for leading this very important work of the Uhuru Walia, Wakalia Kulia. So all these names, like Uhuru Wakalia Health African Women's Health Center, and just really just the incredible work of leading the Black Power Blueprint overall that's really transforming the lives of African people in St. Louis and inspiring African people all over the world, just showing really powerful examples of what it means to be, self-determined African anti-colonial revolutionaries, and what does it mean to have practical work on the ground. So I just wanted to give a huge, tremendous salute to Deputy Chair Ona Zanaya Shatella for all of the work that she is leading, and for everybody else who's following and who are actually contributing and helping to raise this money, and for everybody who's actually donated the money as well. So that's really amazing. So Uhuru comrades, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, President Yesterday. It was really great too. Really powerful presentation. Yes, Kitty.
Make an announcement.
Yeah, Kitty wants to make an announcement, but you have to come up to the mic. Yeah.
It's dramatic. No, it's just an announcement. You have to give up your seat. Tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. it'll take 3 to 4 hours. The concrete is going to be poured for the basketball court. Tremendous victory for the African People's Socialist Party, the Black Power Blueprint, and the community of North St. Louis. It's been a hard fight. Yes. And it's going to be poured to Facebook. Yes, sir. You can come on up. We're going to go live at 8 a.m.
Oh, yeah. Wow. It's amazing. Yeah, really, some of the comments, everyone's just really looking forward to seeing that basketball court.
Oh, yes.
Amazing.
It'll be amazing.
Yeah. Just really want to thank everybody. And we do want to make a couple announcements that the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, like Chairwoman Penny said, is hosting a reparations summer project in St. Louis from July 10th through July 17th, which will include a rally for reparations at the Gateway Arch on July 13th, which is a Wednesday, a reparations legacy webinar on July 14th, that Thursday, and a reparations teach-in and cookout in Tower Grove Park on Saturday, July 16th. So you can sign up to participate by going to tinyurl.com/reparationssummer. So definitely sign up. And we also want to really encourage people to tune in to Chairman Omali Yeshitela's weekly political education study on Sundays, including this Sunday at 9 a.m. Central, which you can tune in at facebook.com/omali.yeshitela and youtube.com/Uhuru TV. And we just want to close out the night by saying thank you so much, and unity through reparations. Uhuru. Thank you all.